worried you can predict the future?
I'm worried people believe I can. And they don't like the future I predict.
The Empire will fall. Order will vanish. There's massive events rushing to meet us.
Only we can shorten the darkness.
Hi, Jared. Nice to meet you. Welcome to Corriere dello Sport. I would like to start by talking about Foundation, this incredible, amazing travel through time and space. What does impress you most reading the script of this series and reading the Asimov opera as well?
When I read the first two scripts, which is what David shared with me initially, I was really blown away by how ambitious it was, and not just in its scope and its spectacle, but really in terms of some of the themes and ideas that he was taking a swing at, and it was exciting to be able to subtly address those ideas within the confines, if you like, of a big epic entertainment.
The supervisor, David Goyes, said about you, Jared is the only person crazy enough to take the role of Harry Seldon. Do you actually feel a little bit crazy to have said yes to this project and to play such an iconic and legendary character?
Do I feel crazy? I mean, there were times when we were shooting I felt crazy, but I mean, I think it was challenging, because it is so ambitious and so epic. And I think there were moments when all of us in the cast just had a moment of, oh my God, like what have I taken on here? Because it's big, But I love challenges. I do enjoy challenges, and I think that if there's a role that keeps you awake at night, gives you that little coiled serpents of fear in your stomach, I think that's a good thing. That means you're on the right path, I think. I wasn't that familiar with Asimov's books until I said yes, and then I went back and started reading them in the story order, not in the order they were written. I was also very impressed with how David has stayed true to the spirit of those books, and if you like, the philosophical inquiry of those books. But obviously you have to dramatize them because the books they're essentially philosophical in nature. They're dialectics.
The high themes covered by the Asimov story told in this series are still relevant today, don't you think? I mean, look today, with the pandemic, the world has had to face enormous changes. Mm-hmm. So the Seldon philosophy is that humanity is constantly going through cycles of revolution, and this scares a lot of people, in particular the people who have the power, but this is inevitable. You agree with this?
Yes. I mean, if you look at the original impetus for Asimov towards writing the books, he'd read the fall of the Roman Empire, and he saw parallels with what was going on in society in his day. So he wrote if you like, a metaphor for that. I'm placing it in the future. So yeah, it's sadly relevant. I mean, and you're right. Every time that there is a profound change is presented to power, they normally, unless they can co-opt it, they don't want any part of it.
Brother Day is an emperor of the Galactic Empire, and he rules with his two brothers, the elder one and the youngest one, in an enormous but very isolated palace in Trentor. What is the aspect of your character that disturbed or even fascinated you most? Is Brother Day representing the solitude of power?
Well, I mean, I can see from your question that you very much understand what we're trying to do here, so I'm not going to summarize it for you. because I can see that you really understand what we're trying to do. What interested me about him is that it's a riddle about inherited power, right? We've seen lots of stories about kings and monarchs and princes, and this abstracts that in a way that we can, look at it in a context that's not on planet Earth in the 21st century, kind of with all of the triggers that our history has given us. I don't play a man. I play a series of men who, for a very specific time in their life, inhabit the role of the emperor of the galaxy, which is absurd. That any one human could have control over the entire Milky Way galaxy. But he does. The technology makes it possible that he does have control with ease of 10,000 worlds, trillions of people. He's an autocrat who can decide who lives and who dies. He has figured out a way to cheat death. By cloning himself, he has lived for 400 years and intends to live forever. But of course, all of this is a fantasy. Brother Day is constantly, cultivating Brother Dawn, showing him, here are the lines, this is the blocking, here are the costumes that you will wear, these are the props you will use. This is what you will do when you inherit this extraordinary power. And it is imperative that you are exactly like me. You are exactly the same person that I am. You believe what I believe, you take the actions that I would take, right? This is one side of his mind. On the other side of his mind, he's looking at Brother Dusk and saying, you've made a lot of mistakes when you were the emperor, and I'm going to do it better. I'm going to distinguish myself among this line of brothers. And that's the riddle, in a way. That's the riddle that I'm trying to investigate with the character, and I have no conclusions to offer you about that. So I kind of leave the audience to kind of investigate that with me. But I guess I would kind of highlight for the audience how differently each of these three individuals respond to Harry Seldon's math.
First question is about Asimov's books. Did you read it before taking part of this series, and how long did it take you to learn everything about this wonderful but really complex universe of Foundation?
I haven't learned everything about it.
It's impossible.
I think it's probably impossible.
But even more so because I didn't know the book. So I came into it not knowing Asimov's work. So my introduction was through the scripts. But I think it's exciting when you're taking on material that is, I suppose, that has stood the test of time. Those books have been around for a while and they're well known and well loved. So there'll be people coming to the show with a lot of expectation and a lot of excitement. And that's nice, but there'll be people coming to it, I suppose, like me, who will be discovering it for the first time through the show. So it will be an interesting mix. Among my friends, I have people who love the Foundation series, and they certainly are very excited. And they've been getting into all sorts of conversations with me about it, asking questions about how do you do it? How do you condense it into a television show? How's it going to work? I said, wait and see.
So your character is the adopted son and the right-hand man of Harry Seldon. He is a practical and intelligent, very skilled boy who has a conflict inside him, a battle between what are his duties and his personal feelings with Harry and Gal Dornick, but we don't say the reason to avoid spoilers. Is it true?
Yeah, that's an exceptional description. That's pretty much how I've been putting it for the last however many days. So
yeah, that's it. It's he's a practical guy. He's the right-hand man, and there's a relationship there with Harry that is personal as well as professional, and that's sort of the source of the conflict. He's trying to navigate these two sides of their relationship.
This is a series that greatly raises the quality of level of the TV series. Did you perceive on set to be feeling to be part or being involved in an out of ordinary project, something that I've never seen before on television?
Yeah, I think I got that sense even before I stepped on set, from the scripts, the way the scripts deal with these huge ideas, and they do it with a fantastic nimbleness and dexterity that I found really interesting. I think there was a moment where I started reading episode 2, and I sort of, I don't know, I sort of almost dropped the script. I said, goodness, what's happening here? How have they done that? And again, I thought the beginning of episode 3 was fantastic. There's so much good stuff there.
Let's talk about Gal. She is an incredible character. She's young and a brilliant mathematic with a great interior battle between fate and chance, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, she's amazing, and I think she really has to a lot happens to her, and she has to kind of overcome so many struggles and so many difficult situations, and losing a lot of people that she loves, but ultimately it has this sense of hope, and that's what she follows, and the sense of what is right is what kind of drives her.
There are a lot of differences between the Gal Dornick in Asimov books and the Gal in the Serie. In the books, for example, he was a man. So in the series, absolutely not. In the book, he appears in few pages, and in the series, it's very important. This important as quite Harry Seldon, and is guiding the audience through the entire story. Did all these differences between the book and the series cause you a little bit problems in your training for preparing the character or not?
No, I think I kind of went off of the scripts. I think the scripts are their own entity. They are obviously foundation, the part of the original manuscripts, and they've taken a lot from there. But I think ultimately they've evolved into something that is different and emotive and emotional, which the books don't always have in them. And I'm very grateful that my character was fleshed out as much as she was for the series. And I think that it's important as well because it's so intricate and so many things are complicated. The math, the science, the different storylines, the good, the bad, like trying to navigate through all of it and have at least someone like Gail who can kind of guide you through as an audience member, I think is a good thing. And it brings you a little bit, it's kind of like having a friend. In the show, you can kind of rely on her a little bit to clear things up when you're a bit confused.
Salvor is a really charming and cool character because he is the guardian of Terminus, and she made an incredible change from book to series. While in Asimov's books she's a man, in the series she's a young woman. However, they have many points in common. They are intelligent, stubborn, and manipulative. So what aspects of this character surprised you most?
What surprised me most, I'd say Salvor's kind of in charge of making sure people are safe, and she very much is dedicated to doing that. But there are times where, as anyone would, she doubts herself. And we get to see that. And so it was lovely to be able to play the badass, the cocky, cheeky person, and then have the other side. That's an absolute dream for an actor to do.
I saw you in a very good shape because playing Salvor is also cost you a lot of physical effort.
Yeah.
And a lot of good fights involving your character. How much did you have to physically prepare yourself for the battle scene?
Yeah, because Salvor's warden, she works outside and has to be, weathered and able to handle, whatever might happen. She has to be prepared for anything. So I did a good amount of training to kind of be able to physically handle the task that is playing Salvor Hardin. And it came in very handy. I had plenty of opportunities to kind of utilize that training, and I really enjoyed it. I love moving around and doing choreography and stuff. So, and I think I'm excited for people to see it all. I'm so excited.
Your character is also a little bit tormented and disturbed in his soul because she feels to be destined to do something, but she don't understand really what. Then he lives in an isolation necessary to protect himself. She doesn't know what it is, why it's there, where it came from. So this mysterious aspect is, in my opinion, very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, it's super interesting. It gives Salvor something to strive for. You know, she's looking for the answers, and everything that she does is in some way connected to working out, you know, what's going on there. It unites the whole community on Terminus. It unites them all to kind of go forward and try and work out some answers. You know, we're always seeking answers in life, aren't we? We're always trying to work out what on earth is going on. And there's no change here. These guys just want to know what's going on.
You said Foundation is the most difficult, intimidating piece of work I ever had to adapt. So how was the approach in bringing this grand scale sci-fi space life on screen? We're talking about something quite impossible to show because it's a travel through time and space, a story who embraced 1,000 years. How long did you have to work on this project?
I would say we spent about 6 months on the first script. Really, we spent a number of months just sitting in a room talking about it, talking about how we would do the impossible. And for me, it always comes down to story. And the in for us was, the starting point was, how do we make this emotional? How do we get an audience who may have never read the books to invest in this story, in these crazy concepts? That's really a story about a teenager being uncomfortable in his own skin. Doesn't matter if you're male or female or trans or what country you come from, many people can relate to that story.
There is a lot of philosophy in the books, but not so much action. So I think you have to work on it, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, almost all the action in the Foundation books happens off screen. It happens in between chapters, in between lines. It's a footnote in the Encyclopedia Galactica. But this is a visual medium, and people want to become invested in the fates of these characters, and they want to see these characters in life or death situations. So it's you have to take a different approach. You have to showcase some of the action. You have to showcase the emotion. You have to showcase a love story.
Last question is a curiosity. While preparing the interview, I read a very funny story about the origin of this incredible project. You were in a room with James Cameron, talking with him about Terminator Dark Fate, and suddenly David Allison entered in the room and said, "The rights of Foundation are in play. Are you interested?" And Cameron said, "Well, that is one hard, very hard." Is it true?
Yes, it's true.